I'm Rivaldo Kavanga. I'm Rivaldo Kavanga. I'm Rivaldo Kavanga. Rivaldo Kavanga. And this is Situation Critical. Every Wednesday at 1900 hours, we bring you the latest news and current affairs. Now, you're a young person and you weren't born before independence, so you wouldn't really appreciate or share greater appreciation for that moment. We ask the tough questions. How would you describe the current status of TVET in Namibia in helping building national development? Challenge the narrative and bring you insights that keep you up to date. This is your platform, your voice, your issues, your solution. Don't just watch the show, be part of the conversation. Stay informed, stay engaged. NBC, it's ours.
or other interests. Fourth and lastly, a weak NAMCOR cannot negotiate better terms, cannot monitor its 10% stake, and cannot advocate for the people. When the board ignores the minister, when files go to the presidency, when oil deals happen without government's knowledge, is NAMCOR being gutted by accident or by design, so that individuals, not the Namibian state, benefit from Namibia's oil? I so submit.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
On Tuesday, March 11, 2026, I shall ask Honorable Veiko Nekundi, Minister of Work and Transport, the following question. The Namibian people complain that the gravel road that went from Etomba via Omdaungilo constituency was finished 11 years ago. It was estimated to go through Ondema, Ndobe, Ekangolombe, to a Hafo village or Congo constituency, but it most likely stopped at Omdongilo constituency. The total population of 90 to 100 villages is now facing a major blow, especially the villages through the Ohangwena region. This gravel route supposed to connect 800 to 900 homesteads in the constituency. Yes. Consider that teachers who struggle to get to classroom on time. Additionally, it is difficult for even sick people to get from that area to the clinic in Oshikunde Clinic or Congo Hospital. Due to the circumstances, Honorable Minister, it is imperative that the road be extended to a Hafo. This will greatly benefit the community residing in that jungle by providing them with access to variety of education and the medical facility in that area. My question, Honorable Minister, what happened to this plan? Why this road has not reached a Hafo for about 11 years now? If not, when and what possible measure will your ministry take to ensure that this did reach a Hafo just to ease the community peace of mind? I so submit.
Table the question, Honorable Member. Yes, table the question, Honorable. Yes, Honorable Nashinge.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Good afternoon to all of us. Honorable Speaker, I give notice that on the 19th of March 2026, I shall be asking the Right Honorable Prime Minister the following. Honorable Speaker, on the 23rd January 2026, the Chinese ambassador to Namibia announced during a courtesy visit to the Prime Minister's office in Windhoek that China has made 750 million available for police housing, covering 1,287 housing units for the Namibian police force, in addition to 400 social housing units planned for Grootfontein and Gobabes. The Independent Patriots for Change welcomes and appreciates any meaningful investment in the welfare of our men and women in uniform. However, such significant diplomatic and financial gesture from a foreign state, one of the world's most powerful, demands full transparency and parliamentary scrutiny. I therefore pose the following questions to the Right Honorable Prime Minister. Question 1, in this 750 million, a grant that is free money with no obligation for repayment, or does it constitute a loan or a concessional facility or funding tied to any form of financial obligation on the part of the government of the Republic of Namibia? Right Honorable Prime Minister. Second, does the Prime Minister believe that the financial arrangement of this scale involving a foreign sovereign state falls within the executive's authority to conclude without parliamentary oversight? Third, who or which contractors will construct these houses once the work starts? Fourth and final, what oversight mechanisms will be put in place to ensure that the funds are managed transparently, and will the Auditor General have full access to the audited to audit the project? I so submit.
Table the question. You may take table the questions. Honorable Karonda.
Yes, thank you very much. Honorable Ibane Kundi, job well done with the restoration of warm water, hot water at the hospital. I give notice that on the 19th of March I shall ask the Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Land Reform, Honorable Ingrid Amweni, the following. Honorable, before the 1st of May 2025, a report came out about missing cattle. The matter, as we are told, was reported to the Okahanja Stock Theft Unit of the Namibian Police as far back as May also of 2025. It appears from the brief perusal of the documents at our disposal that the missing cattle were moved from the Linden Beef feedlot, which is said to be owned by a certain Mr. David van der Linden, who also, as the record show, was arrested on allegations of dealing in cannabis. Some of the allegations against Mr. Liebenberg, misappropriation of funds, forgery and sabotage, dubious contract, and so on and so forth. If we take the three Omaheke Regional Office employees of Water Affairs in juxtaposition, a certain undeniable double standard emerges in how your ministry deals with similar matters involving different individuals. The case of the Omaheke employees came to light in November of last year. They were all arrested, yet your Mr. Liebenberg remains free and at large. By comparison, two 10,000 liters tanks constitute the proverbial drop in the vast oceans. Their combined cost of value will not even exceed $30,000. Yet, Mr. Liebenberg is said to have misappropriated public funds running into millions of Namibian dollars. The missing cattle alone are said to be worth $7 million. Honorable Minister, I want you to speak to this glaring hypocrisy in your response and help us understand the conduct of your ministry. It is evident that the passage of time, a prima facie case has been built against the former Chief Executive Officer, just as the same is true for the Omaheke employees. Does social status have anything to do with declaring double standard? Is the former Chief Executive Officer perhaps more connected to the right people in influential positions, or does this hypocrisy have something to do with the fact that he is white and the three employees are black? I so submit.
Yes, table the questions. Yes, may table the questions. Honorable Lucato.
Honorable Speaker, Member of Parliament, and leaders of various political parties, good day and thank you for the platform. Today, Wednesday, 11 March 2026, I hereby give notice that on Thursday, 19 March 2026, I shall ask the Minister of Mines and Energy, my relative brother, Honorable Modise Amuse, the following Modestas Amuse, the following questions. On the provision of electricity, water, sanitation, and decent housing to the residents of DRC in Sokum, Irongo region. Honorable Minister, the residents of DRC, Sokum, Sales, in Irongo region live in darkness without access to electricity, water, and sanitation, while others do not have decent shelter. The conditions are indecent, causing poor living conditions and drastic affected on human dignity. The residents are requesting
your ministry for assistance to provide the required service, as these are the challenges that should be attended to. Namibians want to know, are you aware of the situation in DRC? 2, have you visited DRC settlement to have a view for yourself on the difficult predicament the community lives in? Number 3, are you going to develop the location by providing electricity, water, sanitation, and decent housing to the residents of DRC? The last one, are you going to engage the mine sectors in order for them to aid in the provision of these services to the residents of DRC? Honorable Speaker, I so submit.
Yes, please table the questions. Honorable Ihemba. Honorable Ihemba.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I hereby rise to give notice that on the 19th of March 2026, I shall ask the Honorable Minister of Home Affairs, Immigration, Safety and Security the following questions. Honorable Minister, a few days ago on my way to Parliament, I witnessed a child nearly ran over by a motorist at Windhoek intersection, a child of undocumented Angolan migrants now living on our streets. This is not only a humanitarian concern, it is a direct public safety failure. The Immigration Amnesty and Voluntary Departure Program expired on the 27th of February 2026, yet undocumented migrants, including minors, remain visibly on the streets of the capital, engaged in open begging and exposed to danger. I therefore ask the following questions. Why has the ministry failed to ensure that those without legal status were processed, regularized, or repatriated before the amnesty deadline? 2, what immediate enforcement action is being undertaken following the expiry of the program? And lastly, what permanent measurable plan does the ministry have to restore lawful immigration control, protect vulnerable children from street exploitation, and safeguard public order in Windhoek? Namibians deserve clarity on whether the ministry is in control of the situation. I so submit.
Yes, table the questions. Honorable member, please take the questions. Yes, Honorable Roderick Likanda.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I hereby give notice that on Thursday, the 19th of March 2026, I shall ask the Honorable Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism the following questions. Honorable Speaker, in the light of recent report by the Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism that trophy hunting generated $180 million Namibian dollars for Namibia, the international distribution of these funds have come under scrutiny from rural community members, communal conservancy members, and civil society organizations. While the minister's figures underscores the sector's economic weight, the current current model relies heavily on high premium hunters from European and North American markets, raising concerns among local beneficiaries and how much of this global capital actually trickles down to the grassroots level. The disparity between gross revenue collected by international operators and the net benefits received by communal conservancy suggests a potential leakage within the value chain. I therefore put the following questions to the Honourable Minister. In light of the 180 million Namibian dollars generated from trophy hunting, how does the Minister ensure that the Game Trust Fund, GPTF, provides a transparent public accounting of its allocation? How does the Minister verify that the revenue reported to the Ministry is the full and actual amount paid by the international hunters? What measures are in place to stop private operators from under-declaring the earnings before they reach communal conservancies? What concrete policy shifts is the Ministry implementing to ensure communal conservancies who bear the primary cost of wildlife coexistence receive a more equitable share of the total sector's turnover? In the event of a total EU or UK trophy import ban, does the Ministry have a contingency fund to stabilize the 86 conservancies that rely on these markets for their operational survival? Honourable Speaker, I so submit.
Please table the questions, Honourable. Honourable Mbundu. Honourable Mbundu.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable members, I hereby give notice that on Thursday, the 19th of March 2026, I shall ask the Minister of Justice and Labour Relations, Honourable Philemon Wise Emmanuel, the following. The independence of integrity of the judiciary are essential pillar of our constitutional democracy. Public confidence in courts depends on not only on the actual independence of judges, but also on the clear perceptions that the judiciary remains institutional separation from the executive. In the light of a recent appointment of the executive director in the office of the Prime Minister, a senior executive official to serve as a judge for a temporal period, concerns have risen regarding the potential implication for the principle of separation of power to the public perception of judicial impartiality. I therefore ask the following question to the Honourable Minister. What consideration and safeguard were applied to approving of facilitating the appointment of the Executive Director in the office of the Prime Minister to perform judiciary duty, and how does the Ministry certify itself that such an arrangement does not create or real or perceived conflict with the constitutional principle of separation of the power to the independence of judiciary as guaranteed under Constitution of the Constitution of Namibia? I so submit.
Please table the questions, Honourable Member. Is the Honourable Member already? Okay, Honourable Venani, you said it's a oral question. Can I have the gist?
Honourable Speaker, yes.
Are all the other members asking oral questions? We have Honourable Mwashindange, Honourable Kandorodu. Are they all oral questions? Okay, and Honourable Ampanda?
Honourable Speaker.
Is it also oral question? Okay. Honourable Venani, proceed.
Honourable Speaker, I want to ask an urgent oral question to the Minister of Gender and all those matters of women affairs. It's a matter that is rearing its head in society that I'm really worried about. It becomes urgent because the prevalence of murders, women stepping men, people killing women with access, ask this very important question of mental health. That there seems to be a problem with mental health in this country. Things that we never heard about are appearing and reappearing in our society. It has become so normal for these funny things to happen. I want to know from you, Honorable Minister, in your Ministry of Gender, what are you doing as an urgent measure to address mental health problems? Because if we don't do something about it, I think our society is going to get lost. I mean, when you are hearing all these things every day, you are asking yourself, what are we not doing enough to address mental health? So what measures have you put in place, as urgent measures to try to address mental health? Do you have a budget for mental health? There was a proposition of bringing a law on mental health. I think the last one that we have is the one of 1973. The last mental health bill that we have is of 1973. This young man, Nekundi, was not even born.
Yes, yes.
So I want to know
87.
What is the action? If I was your president, I would have called you in as my minister and asked you, what are you doing about this problem? Because there's something happening that we are not attacking from a leadership level, and I really want to know from you. And that's the agency, because society, everybody is asking these questions, and perhaps we should hear from the actor.
Thank you, Honorable. I let you speak because it's an important issue, but the question is supposed to be brief and to the point. Yeah, now the Honorable Minister can come in. No, this is a very, very important issue, and I want that MPs, I want to repeat again that questions are intended to solicit answers. But when you have an issue that is so important, a committee can call the minister or all the other people that are involved. Maybe it's multidisciplinary, and we discuss these issues. You just ask a question and you get an answer and it ends there. No, I will allow the question like I said, but I just want to emphasize that point. Questions don't solve problems. They just trigger answers and things end there. Now, Minister, no, we don't want to just speak. We want to deal with issues. Yeah. No.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Venani. As the Speaker has just alluded, it's a substantive matter. I do understand we are equally concerned as a ministry responsible for gender equality, the issues of GBV that has become an everyday issue almost. And it also hinges on the issue of mental health, as Honorable Member has alluded to. You may recall sometime, was it this year, where the Honorable Minister for Health and Social Services tabled the mental health. And it's on the floor. Therefore, it urges on us. It's on the floor of Parliament, and these are some of the issues that, as honourable members, in our respective capacities, should be passing seriously, so that it can help us to address these issues of mental health. Honourable member, the mental health issue is it's a responsibility that we share with the Ministry of Health and Social Services, because you know that when it comes to issues of adults, our mandate is from 0 to 18 when it comes to social welfare or social service for children. But for the issues of GBV, that requires a multi-stakeholder approach, and that's why I agreed with the Honourable Speaker. It hinges on Ministry of Home Affairs, Immigration, Safety and Security.
Honorable Basampasa. Honorable Basampasa. Honorable Sampasa. Honorable Sampasa, that murmuring is because people were welcoming you, but you came in the wrong way. Because you passed between the presiding officer and a member. So no, now it's okay. Next time you just go around the place. Now Minister may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I suggest that we bring an update, perhaps, or as Honorable Speaker has alluded to engage the committee. Because for today, I will not have the answers, apart from the programs that we are running and looking at what other innovative ways to combat the social ill. Maybe just to also add, last year in December, we convened a male conference. This was all those initiatives that we have put in place to see from the male's perspectives, how can we sensitize the men to play that role of a change agent and to assist to fight and to challenge the harmful norms of cultural stereotypes and all the other issues that we are faced with. But in short, that's how I can answer your question, but we remain available to explain to the committee in detail rather than just giving you an oral response. Thank you, Honorable.
Yes, thank you very much. The matter is very important. Let's see how we can follow it up, you know. So, yeah. Honorable Mashindange.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for the floor. I have a very urgent oral question to the Honorable Minister of Finance. And the question pertains from the livelihoods of elderly people and vulnerables in Imperial Island, in the Great Zambezi. Honorable Speaker, Honorable Minister of Finance, according to the Import and Export Control Act, certain products like staple food is exempted from import duties. Now we have a very serious situation in this country of equity. You know, the elders and the people, families living in the Imperial Island, because of the nature of where they live, they are forced to buy food items along the Botswana border, because to go to Katima and back is more than 300 Namibian dollars. Now, imagine these are pensioners that still get 1,600 Namibian dollars, equivalent to an elder in Windhoek who will just probably walk to the shop, whatever it is that they need. Now, for them to go to Katima is more than 300 Namibian dollars. And while that is the case, they are still required to pay import duties every time they import food items from Botswana. So I want to know from the minister why are they being treated like this, especially given the condition and where geographically where they are located. Yes. In our map. Why are they treated like that, and what is the ministry doing as a matter of urgency, honestly, to alleviate the issues of these people as a matter of urgency? I appreciate Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Minister.
Very good. Very good. And
thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much, Honorable Mashindange, for that. It's only that you have asked three things in one. You have raised concern about the distance. In the middle there, you spoke about the 1,600. Then somewhere there, you are speaking now about the import duties. So which one is which? But I try to think that the main concern is on the import duty that's been levied on the goods for this our vulnerable people, like you described them. For now, the Act does not discriminate on the basis of the age or vulnerability, but on the basis of what has been imported or the goods that are being imported. But the question is very important. It can only mean if the law is going to change. It's not going to change only for the Namibians who are living in Impalila, because like I have said, it does not discriminate. For as long as you are importing goods that attract duties, they will be levied. So I think that is the only answer I can give now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Honorable Kandoroto.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. My oral agent goes to the Prime Minister about the Emergency Management Unit within the Office of the Prime Minister and at the different regional councils. This unit is not responsive to emergency cases. People that have been affected by thunderstorm, lightning, and all the natural disasters. There are cases for the past 10 years. In the voice of Honorable Sangwasa, I can say since I was a councillor, there are cases that are not resolved because the councillor did not do anything. Emergency Management Unit is not assisting the regions. Affected communities are not being assisted. They lost cattle and goats due to lightning. They lost houses, roof have been blown away, no repair, no insurance, nothing. People want to know where should they go to? Who will assist them? Is there a program in this government to assist those type of communities that are in need, that have been affected by natural disasters? I so submit.
Thank you. Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Thank you very much, former Honourable Councillor. And I think it is maybe two points. One is that he's aware, the honourable member is aware where that needs to be reported and who to report to. And if and when it is reported, I think we can address it. He knows that too, honourable member. Point. Honourable Speaker, this morning we dispatched a team to Zambezi region, that's now the National Disaster Risk Team, to areas of Skajabuka, Linyanti, and Sibinda that are affected by floods. So that is a national disaster risk that is responsive. And I spoke to the governor this morning, so the same will be true for regional disaster risk. When there is an issue, just report it, and then we attend to it. And in the event where we are unable to attend to it, perhaps of whatever bureaucratic issues, talk to us. You can even call us and say, well, there was this issue and you lapse or you have not been able to take up this matter, and then we'll be able to address it. Fundamentally, Honourable Speaker, an issue of disaster affects lives, affects human beings. So there's no one that would ignore or disregard where a life is in jeopardy. So, Honourable Member, if there is a particular issue in the last 10 years, as you said, as Councillor, please elevate that to us so that we can be able to address it, because, again, at the center of it, it affects lives and property. So take it that be it Okakarara or Kashuru, yes, or anywhere, wherever really, and I think that goes to all of us here in this August House, as well as councillors out there, traditional leaders, governors, and so forth. Wherever there is a natural disaster, please just alert us so that to respond to it, and do so urgently. So submit, Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Honourable Mpanda.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I have
You come later.
Yes, I have an urgent oral to the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, our Speaker is Prime Minister, our Speaker is dealing with one problematic issue that has to do with our Constitution and the actual practices of Parliament. Related to that, the Secretary of the National Assembly, in terms of Rule 47(1), is responsible for the daily management of the affairs of the Assembly under the direction and control of the Speaker. So this Parliament passed the Information Act and gave powers and responsibility to the Secretary. And the Secretary, in terms of that Act, exercised that power conferred by the Act. A minister responsible for information wrote to the Secretary, who is under the direction and control of the Speaker, and gave instruction to the Secretary, and the Secretary, on that instruction, the advert was halted. What is going on, Prime Minister? How is it that a minister can give instruction to a Secretary of the National Assembly? Because, as I said, the Speaker is battling with that problem, because a constitutional matter in terms of separation of powers. So if there is something wrong, let the Speaker, why can't the Speaker be the one to give instruction? How can a minister, maybe they might, I accept that minister, the way how they are behaving, sometimes they are not informing the Prime Minister. There is a possibility. And if that's the case, what's going to happen to this minister who did not brief the Prime Minister on unconstitutional instruction that they are doing?
Okay. Right, Honorable Prime Minister.
Honorable Speaker, thank you very much, Honorable Member. I think the substantive issue pertains to information commissioner. Under that particular law, I think passed through this August House in 2022, the line minister is the Minister of Information, according to that law. So therefore, she is the right minister in regards to that law. So there is, I'm not sure whether we can call it constitutional, but there is, I think, a gray area in respect of that piece of legislation, the application of that legislation, and perhaps the intent and the scope of that legislation. And yes, I've been made aware of it, and I think the manner and the pathways that this particular legislation was passed, and insofar as the advert itself was carried out, it speaks to some anomalies. And the Honorable Minister is trying to address that anomaly to the extent that those that are stakeholders within the value chain of consultation, they should be afforded the opportunity to be consulted. So yes, if you look at that law, and it also has, I think, an addendum regulation, as they call it, and then it speaks now to what role the Secretary to the National Assembly can play, and then other persons and the responsibilities attached to them. So, Honorable Member and Honorable Speaker, I think it is fair to say the approach and the intervention taken is the right one, so that we can be able to find a better way to have this matter addressed, as opposed to the manner in which it was addressed. So that is where the crux of the matter is, not so much of the Secretary undermining the boss.
Yes.
I think that is not the spirit.
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. Now the time is out. I have decided. Okay, so let me leave it there. No, we can't have any follow-up question anymore. The time is finished for urgent oral questions. No, the time is up. So now. Notices of motions. Honorable Cooper. Not yet. No, not yet. Honorable Cooper.
Honorable Speaker, I move without notice, in accordance with Rule 76F, together with Rule 124H of the Standing Rules, Orders and Internal Arrangements, that leave of absence be granted to Honorable Philemon Y. Emmanuel and Honorable Inga Zamwani until 12 March 2026. I so move, Honorable Speaker.
Please table the motion. Honorable Member. Yes. Honorable Lucato.
Honorable Speaker, members of Parliament, today, Wednesday, 11 March 2026, I hereby give notice that on Wednesday, 18 March 2026, I shall move that this August House discuss and agree the motion to consider and reschedule the State of the Nation address, time from 14 hours to 19 hours, the State of the Nation address, SONA, delivered by the sitting President of the Republic of Namibia, is intended for the entire nation. It is of prime importance that all citizens have a fair opportunity and the privilege to follow and listen to the vital national address through television, radio, and the social media platforms. I so submit. I so move.
Honorable. Yes, thank you. Honorable Member, I am going to defer my ruling on that one because the motion asks for the President to undertake an activity which in terms of the rule is supposed to be done within a time that is prescribed under the rule. And what you are asking for seems to suggest that it should be done differently. So I would receive that motion, but it's not admitted for inclusion on the order. I am going to express myself later.
Makes sense.
Yes, thank you. Honorable members, on that note, yes. Yes, Honorable Amfanta.
Speaker, I just want to submit, Speaker, as a matter of procedure, in your consideration, we may laugh about what Honorable Lucato is submitting, but the substance of it is this. It says that.
Now, what is the point that you are raising, Honorable Member? What is the point that
Yes, Speaker, in your consideration.
Okay, now what's the point? Is it point of
This is what
order?
I'm going. Yes, procedure. Yes, because you say procedural, you are deferring the ruling.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I agree with that. And I'm saying, in your consideration, eventually when you come and rule, I'm submitting to you that in terms of what is available in the Constitution, it's not just something that is simple. We also thought about it, not necessarily in the way that is thinking about it, because it says that the President and Cabinet shall be available for question and answers. Yeah? So it's a broader interpretation. We currently make it for leaders of parties, but what if an ordinary member wants to ask the President a question? Yeah? So it's only by consensus that we have agreed. The issue is broader than that. In fact, the Constitution doesn't presuppose a one day. In other jurisdictions, the President is available for a week or so. So let's not look at it as a smaller issue. We have a practice, we have a culture, but maybe there is a conversation that is required, particularly with regard to the SONA, because it doesn't say one day. The President must be available for question during that period. As a practice, we only make one day. So maybe it might be 30 minutes, it might be a week. I'm just saying so that you have a broader consideration of both the constitutional provision and also what we do in the standing rules. It's just in addition.
Yes, I will make my ruling later on, as I have indicated, and now the House would rise until 16 hours for a break.
consume an ever-growing share of public revenue. This means, Honorable Speaker, that the country is increasingly borrowing more money while delivering fewer tangible outcomes on the ground. That is not budgetary discipline. It is certainly cannot be presented to the public as a progress. Last year, Her Excellency the President Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah delivered the State of Nation address and outlined important commitments regarding housing, service delivery, and urban development. Those commitments create hope among many Namibians, particularly among families living in informal settlement who continue to wait for meaningful change. However, when we analyze what has actually been delivered since those commitments were made, the reality on the ground tells us a different story. The budget statement itself indicates that only a limited number of housing units were delivered through government programs during the past year. In the last financial year, only 58 housing units were built in Windu through the Mass Housing Development Program, 24 units in Yopuo, and 112 units were delivered by the National Housing Enterprises. Honorable Speaker, there is also a serious budgeting concern that must be addressed. The housing allocation of approximately 445 million was budgeted, with target that imply an estimated cost of about 148,333 per housing unit. Yet when we look at the actual outcome, only 957 houses were delivered out of the 3,000 units that were targeted, which means that the real cost comes to approximately 465,000 per house. Honorable Speaker, that raises a very serious question. How does a program budget for 148,000 per unit and end up spending nearly 465 per house? That is a difference of more than 3 times the original estimate. If this is the actual cost delivered, then the budget was clearly unrealistic. But if this is not the actual cost of building the houses, then the question must be asked, where did the rest of the money go? Honorable Speaker, the revised target for 2025-2026 financial year stood at only 526 housing units, yet in the very next financial year, the target suddenly jumped to 4,526 housing units.
Imagine.
Such a dramatic increase without a clear plan and with a reduced budget raises a serious concern. It appears less like realistic planning and more like cooking the numbers on paper rather than delivering houses for our people. One cannot move from...
Yes.
Honorable Speaker, if you can protect me from my good friend Honorable Nekundi, because I don't have a reflector to protect myself from getting. One cannot move from 526 houses to 4,526 houses overnight, especially with the reduced budget. That is not a planning, that is a simple cooking the numbers. Meanwhile, the housing backlog continues to grow. It is estimated that approximately 12,000 new shacks are built every year as families move to urban areas in search of opportunity. This means the housing shortage is increasing by more than 11,000 families every year, rather than decreasing. Honorable Speaker, I'm worried. What happened to the promise of 10,000 houses by Her Excellency the President, or perhaps
that was just a political statement over the Namibian people who are in need of the houses. The failure of government to adequately provide housing is clearly demonstrated by the sea of sheds a closing window. Informal settlements such as Okuliongava, Ombwaria Totina, Havana, Kilimanjaro, Mkwadangobe, and the Ohambodanihare, where thousands of families continue to live. Without proper housing or services, these people are living there without proper housing and services. Go and see yourselves there. I was there myself. And I'm encouraging all lawmakers here to visit those informal settlements, just to go and see yourself. You cannot claim to be a lawmaker of this country and you don't know where other people are living in that condition. There are people there.
You don't know. You don't know.
Yeah. Emma.
You know.
Yeah.
Serious issues.
Honorable Speaker, this challenge also raises a serious question about the effectiveness of the state-owned enterprises operating within this sector. The National Housing Enterprises was established precisely to address the housing crisis facing our nation. Yet they have only delivered 133 houses in a year, while Sheikh Dwera Association managed to build 538 houses. This is a clear difference in performance between the state-owned enterprises and the community. It is more efficient, the state-owned enterprises or the community organization. While service delivery continues to lag behind expectation, the country faces another growing concern: the rising burdens of public debt. Government debt currently stands at 174.6 billion Namibian dollar and is likely to raise up to 217.3 billion Namibian dollars. These billions are resources that could have been invested directly in housing, infrastructure, and service delivery. Instead, they are increasingly being used to service financial obligations accumulated over time. If borrowing does not translate into visible development outcome, then future generations will inherit the debt without inheriting the benefit.
Right.
Honorable Speaker, the vote 17 of the Minister of Urban and Rural Development, the vote for 2025-2026 budget stood at 2.6 billion, yet it could not meet even half of the housing and service delivery needs of our people. Now the allocation has been reduced to 1.9 billion. One must therefore ask, if the larger budget failed to address the crisis, how will a smaller one suddenly deliver the change and relieve our community? A national budget must therefore be more than a financial document. It must represent a clear and credible pathway toward improving the lives of the people it is meant to serve. Until we see a stronger evidence that budget allocation translates into house built, land service, electricity delivery, and infrastructure completed, then it become increasingly difficult. It convinced the public that each new budget represents a genuine progress rather than another cycle of promise. Honorable Speaker, to conclude, budget must ultimately be judged not by the intention behind them, but by the result they produce.
Time up, Honorable Member.
We still have our minutes.
Time up. Yes. Time up. Honorable Haindaka.
Yes. Listen now.
Honorable. What is it? Honorable Member, members help me, I have to strictly comply with the time. Now, Honorable, yes, that's the maiden speech.
That's maiden speech. 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Yeah, start over, Secretariat. 15 minutes, I think the new members have how much?
15.
15.
Honorable Speaker of the National Assembly, Dr. Sarah Nanjila Kuongela Madila, Honorable Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly, Honorable Kachamelo Philippus, and our Government Chief Whip, Honorable Alpheus Narusep, Honorable Member of this August House, fellow Namibians, good afternoon, Moroccan. In Rukwangari, there's a saying.
Yes.
Proceed. Don't mind.
Kaua hadera nyoko, nyoko narega hadera. This saying reminds us that once a mother has cared for and raised her child, the child must eventually repay that care through service and responsibility. For me, this is the moment to give back to the Namibian nation that has nurtured and supported my growth. I stand here as a product of a community that has placed immense trust and confidence in my ability. I carry this seat not as a personal property, but as a secret trust held on behalf of the Namibian youth, on behalf of every young woman who was told the floor of Parliament was not built for her feet, and on behalf of every Namibian whose silent suffering has gone unseen for too long. I stand before this august house with a profound humility and even a deep sense of responsibility, not because I have arrived at the pinnacle of achievement, but because I understand more than ever how much remains to be done and acted upon. Honorable Speaker, before I stood here as Christine Haindaka, as a member of Parliament, I was simply Christine from the village of Kairaira, a daughter of the basket of the Kavango region, known for its greatest resources of the virgin land and the river. From Kairaira village, a double orphan raised by my grandmother, Onyare Gina, and love from a community, a healthcare worker who held the hands of the vulnerable, and a social work student who studied the science of human suffering, and a youth leader who believed fearlessly that Namibia's greatest resource is our people. Honorable Speaker, member of this beautiful August House, my journey began before I stepped into any political chamber. It began on the banks of the Kavango River, in a home shaped by values of two remarkable parents, my late parents, Onane Haindaka Reginalda Nanzira, and my dad, Mbundu Sonda Franz. May their soul continue to rest in peace. They taught me that education is not a luxury, it is a liberation, that service is not optional, it is the measure of a life well lived, that resilience is not absence of the pain, it is the refusal to be defined by it. At a very tender age of 3 years, my father passed on and left me with my dear mom, who later passed on when I was 25 years old. I then ultimately became the caretaker of my younger siblings, what we would refer today as a deputy parent. Yet I never felt truly abandoned, but because a village of love rose around me. Today, every family member on my maternal and paternal who helped me up, we ensured that the loss of my parents did not become the loss of my future. I owe you a debt I can never fully repay. I can honor it. I honor it every time I show up for everyone who has no one else to show up for them. In my Swapo Party Youth League structures, I am well known as the mother of the young lions, a title I hold close to my heart dearly. It's that lived experience of grief, of resilience, of being seen by a community that shaped my understanding of social work, not as an academic discipline, but as a lifeline, as the thin, often invisible thread that holds family together when everything is falling apart. Honorable Speaker, politics is often described as a contest of ideas, but for many of us, it is a profound, unavoidable, and personal, as I quote. The good we secure for ourselves is unstable and uncertain until it's secured for all of us and incorporated into our common life. Those are the words of Jane Addams, the Nobel Prize-winning pioneer of social work. They ring particular truth in the rural community of Namibia, where a social worker is often only profession standing between a family in crisis and total collapse. I am a final year honors degree social work at the University of Namibia main campus. I hold a diploma in HIV and counseling level 6 still with UNAM and a certificate in primary health care under the Ministry of Health. I am currently the Deputy Secretary of the SWAPO Party Youth League, the Vice Chair of the Young Women of Africa under the Namibian chapter, and the Vice Chairperson of Kavango West Youth Forum under the National Youth Council. I do not cite those credentials to impress. I cite them to demonstrate that when I speak about health, social service, and the youth development in this chamber, I speak from the inside of those realities, not merely from the outside looking in. Honorable member of this august house, none of us arrived in this august house alone. We are the living expression of the sacrifice of those who came before us, and it's right that we pursue to honor them. I pay tribute to the founding president of SWAPO Party and of the Republic of Namibia, His Excellency, Dr. Sam Shafishuna Nujoma. May his soul continue to rest in power, whose courage transformed the dream of independence into the living reality of this republic. I also salute His Excellency, Dr. Ifikepunye Pohamba Lucas, our gentle giant, who demonstrated to the world that power exercised with humility is the most enduring form of leadership. I remember very well when I was only 2 weeks in the office, when we went to pay a courtesy visit at Okangudi village. He welcomed me and said, "Welcome to politics. Very soon you'll forget about your health background, my girl, and you will focus only on politics." And I was also there. Look at me now. I call them to order. I honor the late President Dr. Hageji Geingob, who was a friend to the youth, relatable to the young people, patient to empower and work with them. Indeed, the late President's conviction that no Namibian should feel like a second class in the land of their birth and continue to challenge and inspire us all in this house. I express my sincere appreciation to my former president, Dr. Nangolo Mbumba, for the steady hand he extended to this nation in a moment that required calm above all else. I particularly had the privilege of serving under his guidance as the former Secretary General of the SWAPO Party when I began my national politics as the Deputy Secretary of the SWAPO Party Youth League in 2017. His mentorship is a gift I carry with me into this chamber. And then our fifth president, Her Excellency Dr. Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwa Ndempelila, the one who has set the bar very high and shown the girl child that it's possible, and Namibian first female president. This is not just a milestone. This is not just a milestone, it is a momentum. It is a proof, it's written in the history, that the long and the painful struggle for the women inclusion in the leadership was worth every sacrifice. I am inspired. We are all indeed inspired. Our very own Mama SWAPO. I salute you. And to the force and nature who have made my presence in this chamber possible, the Iron Lady of SWAPO Party, its engine, the mother, Secretary General, Comrade Sophia Shaningwa. I express my my deepest and most sincere gratitude. You do not merely open a door for me, you build a pathway for the women like me to walk through with their heads held high. And Namibia sees you, Honorable Mother. And I personally sees you, and I am indebted to you, Comrade Mother. I would further like to thank the former leadership of the SWAPO Party Youth League, by then under the capable leadership of our Right Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Elijah Chitunga, and Honorable Veiko Nekundi. I remember very well in 2012, after our Youth League Congress, the following year, the former secretary of the SWAPO Party Youth League, Dr. Chitunga, had a regional visit. By then it was the Kavango region. We decided to have an engagement. After a week, he decided to delegate me to attend a program of young people. I really salute the former leadership of the SWAPO Party Youth League 2012 to 2017. I would like also to salute the following people that have played a significant role in my life. Late Honorable Mandela Kapere, Comrade Ibn Handura from Omaheke, late Comrade Skobiso from Omaheke, Comrade Joseph Kanjimi from Kavango West, Comrade Mala Christine Kavango East, Comrade Paula Kope from Hardap region, late Comrade Moha Karimbe, and Comrade Marungu Anselm from Kavango East, Neville Andrew Itope from Erongo region, and yes, of course, my boss, Comrade Ephraim Nekongo. Honorable Speaker, as I take this seat in the August House, I do so with a clear understanding that representation must be translated into a meaningful action. I therefore intend to contribute actively to this legislative work of this Parliament by advancing policy that strengthen social protection system, expand equitable access to health care, and ensure that no Namibian is excluded from the dignity of this basic service. Particular attention must be given to antenatal care and mental health service and the continued fight against HIV and AIDS, TB, especially still affect our many families. Honorable Speaker, my day in this chamber will be dedicated to making sure that every public and private institution must have a psychologist or social worker, due to many cases every day that we are hearing. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, let me quote,
especially that side.
taught us that Honorable Speaker, I therefore plead to my unwavering commitment to the people of Namibia, to the ideal and the values of the SWAPO Party, to the service of this republic, not wait alone in the work that follows this speech. In the amendment I will propose and the question I will ask this August House and the community, I will refuse to forget and standards I will hold myself, especially when no one is watching me. Let me conclude by saying our generation carries the responsibility to ensure that the promise of independence continue to translate into dignity, opportunity, and prosperity for every Namibian. Honorable Speaker, I so submit. Thank you.
Honorable members were disrupting the member when she was making her maiden speech. Now Honorable Ipumbu has the floor. Thank you, Honorable member.
Yeah, thanks very much, Honorable Speaker, Honorable members. The Namibia national budget remains the most powerful policy instruments through which government can transform society, reduce inequality, and stimulate economic development. It is not merely a financial document, but a political statement about the priorities of the state and the future we seek to build for our country. The NEF welcomes the tabling of the national budget and supports the fiscal framework and projection presented by the Honorable Minister of Finance. However, as a revolutionary and progressive movement, we must raise a fundamental question before this House. Is this budget real in its implementation? Because budgets are not judged by speeches, or allocations on paper, but by material change they bring in lives of our people. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the national budget for the current financial year amounts over 104 billion, while government revenue is projected at approximately 89.98 billion, leaving a financial gap that must be funded through borrowing. The fiscal deficit is projected at around 5.5% of GDP, while public debts currently stand at approximately 65% of GDP. At the same time, economic growth is projected to remain modest at about 3.1% in 2026, which means the Namibian economy is still growing far below the level required to absorb unemployment and expand opportunity. The figures tell us two things: that one, government has limited fiscal space. Two, every dollar in this budget must therefore produce maximum economic and social impact. We must acknowledge a structural concern in this composition of this budget. Out of the more than 104 billion total, 81.3 billion is allocated to operational spending, while only about 6.5 billion goes to development expenditure. This means the majority resources are used to maintain the system rather than transform the economy. A successful budget must therefore ensure that development spending grows faster than operational spending. The budget correctly recognizes that human capital is the foundation of development. The social sector continues to receive the largest allocation, amounting to over 53 billion, or roughly 61% of total spending, with education and health taking the biggest share. Education alone received around 28 billion, while Ministry of Health and Social Service received more than 13 billion. The NEF supports this allocation because education and health are not expenditures. They are investment in productive capacity of the nation. We particularly welcome the policy direction toward free tertiary education, which aims to remove barriers to higher education for young Namibians. However, Honorable Speaker, allocation alone is not enough. The real question is implementation. Are universities receiving adequate infrastructure funding? Are hospitals equipped and staffed? Are vocational institutions producing skilled artisans required by industry? Without effective implementation, education spending risks productive quality graduates without employment opportunities, which is a dangerous contradiction in any economy. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a successful national budget must not only distribute resources, but stimulate production. The Namibia economy remains heavily dependent on the mining sector, particularly uranium, gold, and diamond, with mining playing a major role in government revenue and export. Recent development shows that tax revenue from gold and uranium have surpassed diamond revenues, highlighting the structural change occurring in our resource economy. While this demonstrates resilience in the mining sector, this also exposes a major weakness. Namibia still exports raw resources instead of building domestic industries. The NEF believes this budget must prioritize industrialization and value addition, agricultural production and food security, support for youth entrepreneurship and SMEs. Agriculture, for example, receives only a fraction of the national budget despite its potential to transform rural livelihood. In a country with vast land resource and a persistent food imports, agriculture should be treated as a strategic sector for economic sovereignty. Infrastructure is the background growth. Roads, railway, ports, water system, energy infrastructure are the foundation upon which investment and industrialization are built. Yet the development component of the budget remains relatively small compared to operational spending. Development expenditure previously increased to around 12.8 billion in early budget cycle, reflecting an attempt to address infrastructure gaps. However, the challenge we face today is not only funding infrastructure, but ensuring projects are completed efficiently and without corruption. The NEF therefore calls for stronger parliamentary oversight of development spending, strict accountability in procurement process, transparent monitoring of infrastructure projects. Every delayed project presents lost economic opportunity. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the public debt currently stands at around 175 billion, equivalent to roughly 65% of GDP. Debt is not necessarily a problem if it is financed productive investment. However, when borrowing finances consumption or inefficient spending, it becomes a burden to the future generation. The next, therefore, support efforts to stabilize public debts, reduce the deficit over the medium term, improve revenue collection and tax compliance. Fiscal discipline must go hand in hand with economic expansion. A shrinking or a stagnant economy cannot solve Namibia's fiscal challenges. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, internationally, successful budgets share several characteristics: clear developmental priorities, higher level of capital investment, transparent implementation mechanism, strong accountability for public funding. The real measures of this budget will therefore not be figures presented today, but the outcome we see in the coming years. A successful Namibian budget must deliver jobs for youth, industrial growth, food security, reduce inequality, and improve living standards. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, finally, the Namibia Economic Freedom Fighters support the overall fiscal direction of the national budget. However, we emphasize that implementation is the real battlefield of public policy. Our people do not live in spreadsheets or table budgets. They live in communities where unemployment, poverty, and inequality remain real challenges. This budget must therefore move beyond fiscal arithmetic and become a tool of economic transformation and social justice. Let us ensure that every dollar allocated in this House translates into tangible change in the lives of the Namibian people. I so submit and thank you very much and support.
Yes, Honorable Ampanda.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if everything that I'm going to say doesn't land and fall through the cracks, I at least want all of us to get one thing, and that is really a call for us to move from cutting ribbons to tangible landscapes and landmarks. Why? Because the sun doesn't need an announcement that it has risen. Interestingly themed people, productivity and prudence, this budget and its principles are well framed in a manner that allows us to follow the ideas, the interests, the impacts and the institutions, an essential attribute in public policy analysis. This framing, Honorable Shafuda, allows us to respond and have meaningful conversation on the budget. Minister Shafuda thus stands congratulated. In proceeding, it is our informed view that whereas the 8th administration is starting to take off, it is best advised to quickly move from cutting ribbons to tangible landscapes and landmarks. There must be moderation of an appetite for announcement and more announcement so that one's work speaks for itself. Tangible landscapes and landmarks are the best gift to Namibia and Namibians. The sun doesn't need an announcement that it has risen. Let us consider what the minister presented to us in her budget. The minister announced that 58 housing units were delivered in Windhoek, while 1,059 housing units were delivered by Shack Dwellers Federation. She also announced that NHE built 112 housing units, while 2,100 latrines and communal facilities were built. She announced that 2,100 houses were constructed at the cost of 721 million. Please take note of that. Windhoek's population is estimated to have reached 500,000 inhabitants in 2026. To meet the demand, the city needs to build 5,000 houses and deliver 5,000 plots per year. The city's housing waiting list is more than 40,000 people. To report and celebrate 58 houses in Windhoek is to cut the ribbon at all costs. In the greater scheme of things, it is a story full of sound and fury, but signifying nothing. The Shack Dwellers Federation is a self-organized group of people who have been failed by the system and decided to put housing problems into their own hands. It is not a government program. This type of reporting is another tragic case of cutting the ribbon at any cost. The fact that we have such an organization in the first place is a representation of collective failure. While it is reported that NHE built 112 houses, it is not reported that it has 100,000 Namibians on Abu Sankwasa on its waiting list. 112 houses only account for 0.1% of the need on their waiting list, cutting the ribbon and numbers to that of Shack Dwellers Federation. The self-organized poor built 900 more houses than government energy. It is important for us to always have a national picture when we are presented with ribbon-cutting statistics and announcements. If 2,100 latrines were built, let it be known that 300,000 Namibians lack proper sanitation. This report represents 0.7% of sanitation needs. If 665 teachers were recruited, we shouldn't forget that unemployed teachers are approaching 10,000, with more than 2,000 graduating each year. During SONA, the President announced plans to add 130,000 hectares to productive agricultural land. According to the budget speech, only 1,290 hectares were planted, representing 0.9% of the set target. We learned that 617 hectares of wheat were planted to yield 3,300 tons, and 670 hectares of rice to yield 800 tons. Namibians require more than 140,000 tons of wheat per year. The reported tons account to only 2% of our need. For rice, 800 tons must be viewed in the context of our annual demand approaching 30,000 tons. The area where government is doing exceptionally well is not where announcing microphones are. Take the example of Namibia Correctional Service, which is doing extremely well in food production. Compared to Namibia Defence Force, which ventured into agricultural and industrial production years before Namibia Correction Service, this is a shining example. On its 5,400 hectares, it is able to produce maize and wheat that is fed to prisoners in our correctional facilities and trial-awaiting inmates at police holding cells across 121 constituencies of our 14 region. This is a success story that ought to be told. This is what government ought to support. In fact, the Namibia Correctional Service Center at Divundu has produced due to a lack of storage facilities. The produce is enough for more than 5 years. If anything, funds should urgently be deployed to build storage facilities. This is where the minister's theme of people, production, and prudence should find expression. The Namibia Correction Service food production efforts are a clear example of my SOEs towards the Youth Fund. It is about time that SOEs play a role in development and economic growth instead of perpetually funding one-day events such as modeling, crusades, International Day of this and International Day of that. The emerging picture of the Youth Fund is concerning the Prime Minister. In the first phase, more than 128 million has been allocated for disbursement. Only 70 million worth of projects were approved. Of those projects that were approved, only 13 million have been disbursed to beneficiaries. It must then be told to Namibians that despite the cutting ribbon, only 10% of the funds are actually in use by the beneficiaries. This is yet another lesson to move from cutting ribbons towards tangible landscapes. Speaker, I'm struggling with time. We need to safeguard fiscal sovereignty. The presence or absence on European grey list or green list is not an achievement. These are illusions meant to surrender fiscal sovereignty. Dubai, Singapore, Switzerland did not become international finance capital by painting their faces European. It is for this reason that we welcome the regulation requiring banking institutions and controlling companies to have 70% of their boards executive to be Namibians. The slow growth of the secondary industry is concerning, as represented with a decline to 3%, from 3% in 2024 to 0.8% in 2025 time. Yes. The manufacturing sector is very important. The execution of a development budget is concerning. We should aspire to have a development budget execution rate higher than or actual to that of the operational budget. The minister seems to have an idea on this. We are a bit more concerned about what appears on paragraph 47, where we say that the operational expenditure is expected to be at 81.3 billion for 2026-2027, representing an increase of 746 from 80 billion. But anyway, we canvassed this already with the minister. She will correct it. The minister's posture on public consultation is problematic and needs expansion. It effectively prioritizes neoliberal forces and approaches. While the ministry claims to have consulted stakeholders, it excluded local government stakeholders instead of preferring individual private economic association and business owners. This is actually very problematic. We support the Black Economic Empowerment Law, which government out of fear called NEF. When it eventually comes to Parliament, we are going to struggle to distinguish between NEF of Honorable Kalimbo and NEF the law. We equally welcome the Special Economic Zone Bill. We encourage the Minister and others, We look forward the Public Finance Management Bill, Speaker, and we encourage the Minister to safeguard it from current manipulation by private neoliberal forces who think their profit-driven boardrooms are legislative chambers. We welcome the Minister's commitment to debt stabilization in line with SADC benchmark. The Minister is encouraged to develop actual action plan, particularly given that debt is estimated to reach 200 billion. We support the minimum project readiness requirement before enlisting development budget. We caution, however, that the proposed central technical support function in the Ministry of Work be given expanded capacity and later decentralized, becoming a coordination monitoring unit. We are concerned with the numbers projected for NHE's 1.5 billion loan facility for 2,300 houses. If a government, according to the budget statement, spent 721 million to construct 2,100 houses, how can the remaining 200 houses by NHE cost 779 million? Asked differently, how can a government program build 2,100 houses at the cost of 721, while NHE will build 200 houses at the cost of 779 million? We support the adoption of outcome-based budgeting and prohibition of variance from development budget to operational budget. We do not agree that Namibia should align with OECD base erosion and profit shifting action plan. We have an AU instrument that proposed by the report of illicit financial flow. This report is clear on how to strengthen tax administration and policies, such as the establishment of transfer pricing unit, review tax treaties, and limiting tax holiday. We should not exempt Europe from its responsibility regarding illicit financial flow. Speaker, I'm almost done. Yes. No, I was just concluding.
The time is
just 1 minute.
Honorable, how about this? I have a list. Honorable Swat, I have a list. It's already 5 o'clock. Yeah. Honorable member, you continue under the committee stage. We are out of time, Honorable. No, Honorable member. We are out of time. That's long. No, just distribute it. No, Honorable member. I can't do that. Honorable Swat, we must take the floor. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 people.
Yes, just one minute.
No. Honorable, just take a seat, please. No, Honorable. Honorable, just take your seat, please. No. I didn't do it for the others. Just take your seat. Honorable member. No, honorable member, just take your seat. No, honorable member, now you are wasting time. You are eating into the time of the other member. No. Honorable member, take your seat. Just take your seat, honorable member. Set the time for the next member, please, Secretariat. Set the time for the next member. Yeah, honorable member. No, honorable member, just take a seat, please. No, honorable. You have already spent 2 minutes pleading. So, honorable,
can you hear his
you will speak during the committee.
Speaker, my time.
Yes.
My time.
Yes, set the time.
Please set the time at 20 minutes.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sarah Nanjila Kungela Amavila. I want to first congratulate the Finance Minister really for being a proper seamstress that has cut the skirt very short as it should be. And I therefore also commend the executive arm of state that has rationalized their thinking around the need to curb public spending. As a result of this year's budget, clearly the debt to GDP is contracting, and there seems to be a consistent projection that contraction will continue. I'm very pleased with this, and I, in particular, am very proud of the Honorable Erika Shafuta, a person that has been groomed in the finance sector
a woman of very few words, but who deeply understands the economy and the financial situation of this country. I am really very pleased with her. What I also appreciate about something is coming here. What I also, Speaker, my time. What I also appreciate about the Honorable Shafuta is her very non-political honesty, in where she, for instance, says that we've got to balance between today's needs and tomorrow's commitments. In that statement, she basically says we can't deliver to society what we have promised, and we have to tighten our belt. And that type of honesty from a person that is both technical and political is refreshing in the discussion around the budget, because it reflects her genuine concern and her unapologetic approach to transparency and not to play around. I think it is refreshing, really, to hear that. I want to speak about the question of orientation, the fiscal orientation. You look at Zimbabwe, you look at Angola, you look at South Africa, you look at Namibia, you look at Zambia and many of the African countries. The overemphasis on the social sector and the underemphasis on the productive sectors that grow the economy is toxic and problematic and unsustainable. Our productive sector this year will receive about 6.4 billion, with additional 4 billion from loans that will be obtained, says the minister's statement. Then she says that additional funding will come from the state-owned enterprises without giving us a figure of how much that would be. That is really concerning, because the overemphasis, in particular in one of the sectors, if I may, and I don't want to be misunderstood, the overemphasis, if one may, in the social sector, but with specific emphasis on the education sector, creates challenges that we have to deal with and that we have to confront. One, you give 28 billion, which is about 32% of the entire budget, to education. That results in an additional 134,079 students that will enter the tertiary education sector, and yet both from grade 10, grade 11, grade 12, and post-secondary education, we don't have answers as to where these young people go. Yes. Because we equip them with the skills, yes, and we don't create the jobs in which they will deploy those skills. And that becomes problematic, because you train them and inspire them to be hopeful that I must do well in this field, but after I am successful, correct, there's only a 6.4 billion Namibian dollars for the area where I will be living the rest of my life. Yes. And yet, in our readings, we have seen that there is a program now of the African Labor Export Program. And this is something that the government must look at. Ghana, Senegal, Nigeria, and now South Africa has signed a program with the EU. Let me just speak of Nigeria. Nigeria labor, because they can't absorb the labor that they are equipping. They then began to talk to the European Union and have exported about 360,000 Nigerian professionals to Greece, getting to a point of remittances back to society in Nigeria of about 72 billion US dollars. We have to look at it, because we'll sit with a pool of about 134,000 qualified, educated, equipped, productive young people have nowhere else to go. We've got to look at exporting labor, since we are not creating jobs here, and get to a remittance approach that can be plowed back to society. Then secondly, we have to look at this matter of agriculture. We are a rural society. People like James and April and even my brother Herunga and so on find them weekends, Nekundi and others, they are on their way to the farms. Even Nekongo, one of the very successful agronomists, we are rural. And therefore, the opportunity to unleash the rural economy is a non-negotiable issue.
The budget doesn't address it.
The budget doesn't address it. And so the difficulty in post-independence Southern Africa in particular is that we keep on equipping and educating, but we don't think that the economy deserves to grow. And that lack of investment tells us, and that is where Shafuta says, that this budget, on the basis of that investment that we're making, is one where the ruling party, SWAPO, that was in government and knew the financial state of the country, promised, for instance, 250,000 jobs, on average 50,000 per year, but they can't even get to 2,000 jobs because the reality after the manifestos are shelved and governance now becomes the issue is, yes, it is there, but it means nothing, is that Mariva Teipo, there is no money. Yes. There is no money. And we are just becoming administrators of the status quo. The operational budget continues to grow, and the short-term way to meet the political demands is to increase the operational budget. How? By hiring people in correctional service jobs, in other security jobs. But the public prisons, there was a committee that went in the 7th Parliament out to see the conditions of prisons. We don't even make money available to improve prisons, but we hire people to invest their time to guard people and to guard decaying infrastructure. Again, the operational budget goes up, development budget goes down, and we are in a cycle of poverty, a cycle of inequality, unemployment, and poverty.
Aggregating politics.
When is the thinking, Elijah Chidunga Gurare, when is the philosophical debate the minds of you colleagues that are governing to take us out of the collective economic suicide we are in? Train them, equip them, there are no jobs. They become social delinquents. We now have to have gender-based violence issues. Yes. Economy doesn't grow. We have to go and loan money. We can't do with innovation and so on. Look at Mongolia quickly. If you look at our priorities as a country, on the list of about 10, education and skills, health and social services, social safety network, fiscal prudence and debt servicing, civil service. Now we come to things that can create jobs. Energy, that is number 6, and green hydrogen. Green hydrogen is gone. No explanation how it is gone. There's still time. Then 7, youth and job creation. Agriculture is number 8, but therein lies jobs. But it's number 8 on our priorities. Then infrastructure and transport, where there are jobs, it's number 9. Countries that are moving forward have infrastructure, agriculture, number 3 or number 4 as priorities in the economy, so that the cycle of money moves thoroughly. On that note, I unfortunately have to appreciate the work that the colleagues have done as the collective cabinet to reduce the expenditure as much as possible, but they are trying to increase it elsewhere, but we can't support this budget, unfortunately.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable Mulunga. Honorable Mulunga.
Did you hear Nekongo?
Honorable Speaker, honorable members. I rise once again in my capacity as Shadow Minister for Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Land Reform to contribute to the 2026-2027 Appropriation Bill tabled under the theme People, Productivity and Prudence. This budget comes at a time when the livestock industry faces a significant threat, particularly due to the outbreak of foot and mouth disease in our neighboring country, South Africa. It is therefore of utmost importance to continue protecting and strengthening the sector. Honorable Speaker, the budget tabled by the Honorable Minister of Finance allocates 1.8 billion to the agriculture and land reform, and 1 billion has been allocated to water and marine resource, respectively. However, it must be noted with serious concern that the agricultural sector budget has decreased by approximately 694 million, representing a reduction of 27% compared to the 2025-2026 financial year. Honorable Speaker, we signed the Malabo Declaration. We committed to 10% of public expenditure on agriculture. We delivered 2%, but it gets worse. Within that 2%, there is only a small fraction in subsidy for seeds, equipment, and nothing for fertilizers to assist our farmers. We expect them to be productive. We expect bumper harvests, but we give them little to nothing to assist them. Other African countries subsidize their farmers. We do little to nothing. And then we wonder why we import 80% of our food. Once again, we are experiencing poor rainfalls in some parts of the country. The signs are yet there that there is a looming drought. And what is this government doing? Absolutely nothing. They will wait for the crops to fail, then they will declare another state of emergency, then they will ask for emergency funding, and this cycle will continue. Neglect, crisis, emergency on repeat. About 612,000 Namibians are in a food crisis right now. And this budget has no drought preparedness program, no early warning investments, no proactive strategy. We are always reacting to the wave after we've already drowned. The recently launched National Development Plan NDP6 sets ambitious targets aimed at transforming the agricultural sector. This includes increasing the crop value contribution GDP from 2.1% to 4%, livestock contribution from 2.5% to 4%, locally produced food from 60% to 80%, domestic production of key agricultural inputs such as seeds, fertilizers, feed and veterinary supplies from 0 to 65%, and expanding the irrigation land from 11,200 hectares to 130,000 hectares. These targets are expected to be achieved by 2030. However, it raises a serious concern whether these ambitious goals can realistically be achieved when the sector's budget has been reduced by 27%. Honorable Speaker, the NDP further envisions the launch of strategic initiatives aimed at increasing agricultural production, such as the dairy, small stock, poultry, piggery, horticulture. Yet when we examine the actual allocation, these sectors collectively receive a mere 22.9 million. This amount is almost equivalent to what the ministry has allocated for S&T. One must therefore question whether the financial priorities of the budget truly reflects the developmental ambitions articulated in NDP6. Honorable Speaker, our green schemes remain one of the country's greatest opportunity to achieve the national target of 130,000 hectares under irrigation. While it is encouraging that 1,290 hectares has been planted with wheat, rice, and various horticultural crops, the current allocation of 64.9 million for the country's 10 green schemes equates roughly to 6 million per green scheme. On average, the green schemes need about 25 million to cover their operational cost. However, they are only allocated about 24% of the much needed operational cost. The insufficient funds, coupled with centralization of their operation at head office in Windhoek, risks weakening their operational efficiency. Honorable Speaker, under the land acquisition program, the government has thus far acquired approximately 3.5 million hectares, which should have been intended for previously disadvantaged and landless Namibians. The national target to increase this figure to 3.9 million hectares by 2030. During the 2025-2026 financial year, 10 farms with a combined size of 38,000 hectares were acquired at a cost of 94 million. In the current financial year, however, only 70 million has been allocated, which is expected to acquire approximately 30,000 hectares for resettlement of around 10 families. This includes generational farm workers, landless farmers, youth, women, and Namibians of Botswana origin. With only 4 years remaining before 2030 and approximately 400,000 hectares still requires to be met in order to meet the national target, it is evident that the current allocation is insufficient. An annual allocation of approximately 250 million over the MTF period would be necessary if this current government is serious about meeting those targets set out in Vision 2030. Honorable Speaker, demand for land continues to increase significantly, with thousands of applications received annually, yet only a small fraction of applications are successfully resettled. The current target of around 30,000 hectares benefiting only 10 families raises a serious concern about the efficiency and the impact of the program. Globally, agriculture is increasingly shifting towards intensive farming systems supported by modern technologies, which requires smaller land units but produces. This budget therefore needs to make provision to pilot targeted resettlement programs focused on intensive agriculture. Farming units of between 20 to 30 hectares should be allocated to farmers specializing in horticulture, poultry, piggery, and dairy production, sectors that do not require vast tracts of land. Just imagine the economic contribution of 500 small-scale farmers operating intensively on 10,000 hectares would make on the Namibia's food security, employment creation, and agricultural output. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, the 1 billion allocated to the water and marine resource vote must meaningfully address the water shortages experienced daily by the Namibian people. Having extensively studied the budget, little to no provision of water pipeline projects has been budgeted for communities living close to rivers. Our assumption is that they will collect water from the river. However, that poses many challenges such as human-wildlife conflict as well as unsafe drinking water. It is therefore of serious importance that these communities are remembered and the budget can speak to their plight. Every Namibian deserves to enjoy the fundamental human rights of safe and clean drinking water. Yes, please. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I cannot discuss the fisheries budget without addressing the elephant in the room, the fish rot scandal. Yay! 2 ministers resigned, foreign companies bribed their way to our fish. 6 years later, the workers who lost their jobs have received nothing. Sure. The Marine Resource Fund received a disclaimer audit opinion. The Auditor General could not verify over 400 million in transactions. And now we are asked to trust this government with more fisheries money. Where is the redress program for the fishermen? Where is the accountability for the missing millions? It is noted that the 2026-2027 budget provides for strengthening inland fishing, including construction of the Leonardville fish farm and the upgrading of the Foinki and Pungu fish farms. However, inland fish farmers continue to face high production costs due to imported feed. Government should therefore scale up fish feed production at Onavivi Inland Aquaculture Center, which would reduce costs and improve production and enhance food security for rural communities. Honorable Speaker, the allocation of 1.8 billion under Vote 37 and 1 billion under Vote 38 for the Ministry of Fisheries, Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Water and Land Reform does not sufficiently address the full needs of this sector. The budget sounds like a people-centered budget on paper, but for a farmer in the deep mountains of Kunene, it remains another checkbox by the current administration. I therefore do not support this budget. I so submit.
Yes, thank you. Honorable members, I am very much time constrained. I can see that there are some political parties that have not spoken. So I would like to skip Honorable Ita so that I can give 2 members from the opposition whose parties have not spoken. I want to appeal that tomorrow, please, when we come, because you have some parties who 3 days into the budget have not said anything on the budget. because we're just talking about other issues. So now the rules really say I must go to the next person. But I want to implore Honorable Ita that these honorable members can take their 10 minutes and then he can adjourn the House. So that, okay, Honorable Somaib.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker, for rescuing me. Honorable Speaker, honorable members, I want to contribute also on this appropriation bill of 2026. Budget is an annual plan that has specific for a year that needs to be put in action. And I don't want to start on the technical part because most of the members contribute on the technical part of the budget, but I want to contribute more on the practical and the implementation of our budget. Even other members also indicated about the allocation of 1.4 billion, whereby our focus is mostly on education, health, and operation. And nevertheless, we have also allocated certain $6.5 billion for projects of development. So, dear members, as I've said, I want to touch only on the aspect of implementation. It is very good that the allocated funds for Minister of Education, as it was indicated by previous speakers, almost take up 30% of our budget. But I want to plead, let us focus more on the implementation. Basically, with construction of schools in almost in every constituency. But what I've of hostels in most schools. So with this allocation, I'm pleading to the Minister of Education, let us focus also on the part of constructing the construction of hostels. Infrastructure. Because we can provide education, but if we do not accommodate learners coming from poor family background, then we are not talking about quality education. Because they are competing with other learners that are coming from hostels and from good background. Also, if it is not part of this year's appropriation, I'm pleading to the Minister of Education, let us also have in our plan to have a university in central of Namibia, either in Otsuzunzuba, Kunene, Otsugodo, Erongo. Because most of our young people that are interested in studying is coming either to Windhoek, which is challenging, or they are going to the north. But let us also have that in our annual plan, if not in this financial year, but in short future. I want to touch also on the issue of health. Yes, we have resolved to utilize the health facility, which is a good thing. But let us improve on the aspect of treatment, care, and support. Yes, today I have witnessed that Minister of Works and Minister of Health have improved on hot water in the health facilities. So let us create under this allocation a conducive environment for our patients, because we don't know where we will end up tomorrow. So let us be practical in terms of infrastructure. That's my plea. The banning issue, unfortunately, I'm so bad luck. If I stand on the podium, my land minister of Eben is always absent. But I want to touch on the issue of rural and urban development in terms of infrastructure.
Yes.
This is the most important wing or part that creates also this house. Those that are sitting in urban and rural set up are the ones that have voted us in power. But on the issue of informal settlements, that's where my heart is paining. I hope under this allocation of $1 billion, let us improve the situation of informal settlements. Just simple with basic needs of water, electricity, and sanitation. Because we are talking about the mushrooming of sack houses and so, but if we put our focus and put in our funds in informal settlements, their members, then we will have a peaceful nation. Because all of us are mostly staying in the houses with more than 2 or 4 toilets. Just a toilet. But a single household don't have a toilet. And they are soaping bright plastic bags for that purpose. So I hope and believe under this allocation, put our effort, our focus on informal settlement. And also on urban development, because I'm commuting from Ogahandia, and every afternoon I'm passing through the location called Kasenambo. These people are located together with dumping site. I'm talking about the location in Otavi called Kabinbong. The houses are just 5 meters from the dumping site. So I hope and his deputy is here. Because the allocation is there, let us ensure that we will improve at least during this financial year on this issue of informal settlements. Dear members, I want to touch also on the issue of self-sustainability. I hope under these operations, we will address the issue of to industrialize our. Because if we are having industries, that's where we can address the issue of unemployment. So I hope and believe, like as a member indicated yesterday, we cannot always be shareholders on our natural resources. Let us also own our own natural resources and benefit from it. So once we industrialize our nation, at least somehow, we will ease all these burdens. The economy and the productive land is under minority. So I hope under agriculture and land reform, we'll also address this imbalance. Because minority are owning the economy and the productive land. We have initiated land reform, land resettlement programs, which is not also sustainable or it's not practical. But I hope Minister of Agriculture will see on the policies how to address this. So, as a time catching me up, Honorable Minister, you have put in efforts, spend time, and I will allow you and I will give you blessings to implement this party. So I submit.
Thank you. Honorable Kumbwa.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and also for doing justice to UDF and APP. And thank you, Honourable Member from that side, for according us this opportunity to start to contribute now. Honourable Speaker, I rise to make my contribution to the appropriation bill of 2026-2027 financial year on behalf of All People's Party, APP. First of all, I wish to extend my sincere gratitude to the Honourable Eric Kashafuda, Minister of Finance and Social Grants Management, for tabling this appropriation bill earlier than was the case in the previous years. Honourable Minister, your timely presentation is not merely a matter of procedural convenience, but is constitutional obligation as clearly adjoined by Article 63, Section 1, Paragraph 8 of the Namibian Constitution, which requires the budget be tabled before the close of each financial year. I therefore say thank to you, Honourable Minister, you are maximum in time. I also wish to acknowledge the themes you have chosen for this budget: people, productivity, prudence. These three pillars, Honourable Minister, speak directly to aspirations of our nation, placing our people at the center, driving productivity for growth, and exercising prudence in the management of public resources. It is a theme worthy of support, and we in All People's Party trust that it will be matched by concrete action and equitable implementation. Honourable Speaker, this national budget for this year, for this financial year, is a case for concern, which should be marked on record as a lesson to be learned from. As government, total debt increase payment is ever increasing every year. From 14.7 in 2024-2025 FY to 16.4 FY in 2026-2027 is ever increasing annually, and at the same time, credit should be acknowledged and given where it is due. Honourable Speaker, allow me now to turn to specific allocation with the national budget and offer my observations on the implications for the ordinary Namibians. 1. Vote 10. Education. The increase to vote 10 from 24.8 billion to 28 billion is noted, Honourable Minister. However, the education sector still needs more attention and should be prioritized, if not declared as a disaster in its current situation, in terms of the following: failed implementation of teacher-learner ratio as per staffing norms policy since the year 2001, inadequate conducive teaching environment for both teachers and learners, chronic shortage of teaching and learning materials in the sector, compounded by the unrealized free education, teacher accommodation, and the emerging presence of platoon system in the absence of corrugated zinc temporary structures in the schools countrywide. These problems are bottlenecks to the realization of universal, free and quality education as a target by Vision 2030, which is 4 years away. Vote 13. Ministry of Health and Social Services. The increase to vote 13, Honourable Minister, Honourable Speaker, of 12.3 billion to 3.1 billion is acknowledged by APP. I also commend the budget team for considering this increase. I acknowledge the recent initiative and impact done by the Minister of Health and Social Services for the new intake and recruitment approximately 2.5 into the nursing career which is contributing to the reducing of unemployment among the youth. However, I have to single out that there is still a shortage and understaffed pharmacists in the sector, shortage and limited physiotherapy equipment, medical equipment, referrals, and intermediate hospitals are still a challenge. And this move is compromising the objectives outlined in NDP 6 on targets as the country is approaching Vision 2030. It is still a concern despite visible effort from the line Ministry of Health and Social Services. I will comment on vote 8 and vote 3, Defense and Ministry of Home Affairs, Immigration and Security. So far, close plus minus 1,500 new recruits in the Defense Force and Police Force is in the country, and it also contributes to the reduction of the youth unemployment in the country. It's commendable. But then, Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my big concern is with vote 17, Ministry of Rural and Urban Development. This is my biggest concern. It is all about 35 years backlog in the formalization of informal settlement countrywide. The most affected regions are Commerce and all its constituencies. Erongo, Kavango in Rundu, not forget Kunene and Zambezi region. These are tantamount to disaster and need careful planning, careful budget, serious execution of plans and programs for implementation, targeting specific timelines, and funding to reduce the problem, if not eradicate informal settlement through tangible policies and regulations. Eradication of informal settlement must be on the top priorities among others as we navigate ahead government through the national budget and the Ministry of Urban and Rural Development. Must not be overlooked. This livelihood threatening situation happening at the expense areas. The average amount allocated to the development of rural areas, which is the growth, the growing points of our country, is between 1.5 to 5 million. If we look to the settlement of Katutwi in Kavango East, Fungu, the Laona Fidi, in Ohangwena, the Vundu Village Council, and the others, the list go on. The amount is very few. My plea is that we must invest in rural areas where land is available, where land is affordable to everyone, not only the elite. So this is our problem. This is our situation. We must build from it. The budget is not sufficient. But because it is our own problem as government, there's no way I cannot say of not supporting this budget. I so submit. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. Now, before I call on Honorable Ita to adjourn the debate, I would like to announce that only MPs whose parties are listed on the program of the budget to contribute are going to make contributions. So I will only recognize tomorrow those that are allocated time tomorrow and the days as they follow. That is 1. 2, please let us fit our statements within the time that is allocated. Let's talk to the generalities and the detail we will contribute during the committee. Lastly, let us arrive on time. Let us minimize the routine business so that we go directly and every party will have the opportunity to speak. Honorable members, with that, Honorable Ita, can you please adjourn the debate?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I would like to adjourn the debate until tomorrow, 14:30. I thank you.
Thank you. The House rises until tomorrow, 14:30.
This is NBC1. It's ours.
From the river god in the Zambezi River to 70s and 80s music in East Africa and a look at the